This Void Hunter build carried me through the legendary campaign of Renegades, as well as the first 2 encounters of the new Equilibrium dungeon. Now, I have to say, I haven't finished the dungeon yet, solely because I just haven't had the time to. But if you want endless Overshield, Devour, and Invisibility, then you're definitely going to want to give this build a try. As always on this channel, we are going to test a few things: survivability, damage output, and timeliness. Timeliness being, can we complete these missions in a reasonable amount of time, since if you're like me, you have responsibilities outside of the game. Now, I also want to mention, this build is getting Devour without the seasonal artifact. So that means this build can function outside of the season as well. So if you want to know how to have infinite Devour, Invisibility, and Overshield, let's jump right into the video. Starting off with our subclass, we're going to be running Pure Void Hunter. Now I'm choosing this over Prismatic because sure, we can go invisible off of Stylus Executioner, but we can't get Devour outside of Pure Void. For our super, we're going to be running the Shadow Shot Deadfall. I'm running the super only because on the level we were on, I needed something to help group enemies together to take them out quicker. For a while I was running the Mobius Quiver, so both are actually viable options for this build. For our class ability, I'm running the Marksman Dodge, mainly because I'm not relying on my melee that much, and there are times that I want an instant cooldown on my sidearm. For our melee, we're running Smoke Bomb, which creates a weakening cloud on enemies. I will say for this build, I was using Smoke Bomb as kind of a second grenade, more so as a way of debuffing enemies. For our grenade, we're running Vortex Grenade for kind of the same reasons we're running Deadfall. Vortex allows us to pull in enemies and take them out quickly. This is also getting us volatile rounds thanks to one of our fragments. For our first aspect, we're running Stylus Executioner. This is going to give us invisibility every time we defeat an enemy with a void debuff such as weaken, volatile, or suppression. Our second aspect is going to be on the prowl. What this allows us to do is when we go invisible, we'll be given a priority target that when we defeat them creates a weakening cloud and reactivates invisibility, starting the loop all over again. On the prowl is going to cap at 3 times until it enters a cooldown, but that doesn't mean we're going to stop going invisible. I also want to mention that when we defeat the priority target, we are going to get a boost in ability generation. For our fragments, we're running Echo of Harvest, which gives us an Orb of Power and Void Breach on defeating a weakened enemy. Echo of Instability, giving us volatile rounds to our void weapons on grenade kills. Echo of Persistence, which allows our void buffs to last longer, those being Devour, Invisibility, and Overshield. Our primary source of healing is going to be Echo Starvation, which gives us Devour when we pick up an Orb of Power or Void Breach. And finally, Echo of Reprisal, which gives us super energy when defeating enemies while surrounded, with which this build is not going to be much of a problem. For our exotic armor piece, we are going to be running the brand new Fortune's Favor exotic boots. Now what this does is while we are out of combat, or when we defeat an enemy while at full health, we will be given a slowly recharging Void Overshield. Now the second part of this exotic states, while we have an Overshield, our weapons gain increased accuracy, stability, handling, and most importantly, damage. If you don't have the Fortune's Favored legs, that's okay. Another exotic that will give a damage boost and Overshield is the Graviton Forfeit. Some people prefer this helmet over the Fortune's Favor, and that's okay. Both are awesome exotics, and both give great void buffs and damage boosts. What Fortune's Favor gives us is that any time we have an Overshield, we are receiving a damage boost. Now, with this build, there are going to be other ways to get an Overshield, that being our non-exotic weapon. Our non-exotic weapon can be anything so long as it has Repulsor Brace and Destabilizing Rounds. What this combo does is when we defeat a void debuff target, we're getting a small Overshield and we're creating a volatile explosion, causing other enemies to become volatile, repeating the loop of getting Overshield. Now, the Overshield we get from Repulsor Brace does trigger the Fortune's Favor and gives us the damage boost. For this build, I'm running the Compact Defender from the Renegades campaign. Honestly, getting this gun was a movie moment for me because this gun dropped as a reward for defeating the final boss in the Renegades campaign. For our exotic weapon, we're running the Praxic Blade. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Seriously, another Praxic Blade video? That's it, I'm out of here. Hold on, don't leave just yet, because there is another option that can run with this build, but it takes changing a couple of the mods, and one fragment. For the Praxic Blade, we're going to be running the Impact Core, which allows us to apply Weaken every time we hit an enemy with the blade. This is the primary way we're going to apply Weaken to tie in our build and give us Devour. And the good news is, none of the catalysts are needed for this build to work. I have the Hyperblade on only because that's the only catalyst I have at the time. The other weapon that will work with this build is the Black Talon. Mainly how you want to use the Black Talon is use your heavy attack and it will apply suppression. The only things you'll have to change is you have to take off Echo of Harvest for Echo of Domineering and a couple of the mods which I'll talk about later on. So if you're tired of the Pyraxic Blade, give Black Talon a shot with this build. One last thing I forgot to mention about the Black Talon is that it is a void sword, so you can run volatile rounds on the sword itself. For our mods, on the helmet, I'm running triple kinetic siphon. Now, I know that probably sounds crazy, but our Devour loop ties into picking up an Orb of Power. And with 3 kinetic siphons on, that means we will get an Orb of Power every second we defeat an enemy with our Pyraxic Blade. If you're going to run the Black Talon, I would recommend you switch to triple Void Siphons, which would also play nicely into your Repulsor destabilizing weapon. For our gauntlets, really you can run whatever you want. I'm running a Firepower to get an Orb of Power on grenade kills, Bolstering Detonation to give us class ability energy, and Momentum Transfer to give us melee energy on grenade kills. I didn't really rely on my grenade much in this video as a source of damage, but it was a secondary option for me to use. For our chest, I'm running some resistances. You can run whatever you like. I always like a harmonic, melee, and concussive resistance, but that's my personal preference. Just make sure whatever resistances you do run, you have an elemental resistance to whatever the surge is. For our legs, I'm running double kinetic surge to give us more damage on our Pyraxic Blade when we have armor charge. Remember, we get armor charge by picking up orbs of power, and with us primarily using our Pyraxic Blade, we are constantly putting out orbs. I'm also running an Absolution to give us energy to all our abilities when we pick up orbs, and again, we are constantly making them. If you're going to run Black Talon, I would use Void Surges instead. Finally, for our class item, we're running Time Dilation to make our surges last longer, Powerful Attractions, so when we use our class ability, we scoop up any nearby orbs, and Reaper to give us an orb on the first kill we use after our class ability. For our stats, the primary one we want to push is the weapon stat. This is going to give us more overall damage for all of our weapons. Now, as you can see, my weapon stat is only in the 120s, and you can see how much damage I'm dealing out. The other stats we would want to push is our super and then our grenade. Super so we can get deadfall back quicker and so we can deal more damage. Grenade is going to be for the same reasons, although I'm not too concerned about the grenade since we don't really use it as a source of damage. But you do want your grenade and super around the 70s, so you're not waiting longer than normal for it to come back. For the gameplay, there are 3 loops going on, and each are incorporated into your buffs. For Devour, defeat an enemy with your Pyraxic Blade, Impact Core will apply Weaken, and drop 2 orbs in a Void Breach. Pick up the orbs in the breach, and now you have a large counter Devour and health back. Orbs are also going to give us more damage to our Pyraxic Blade. For Invisibility, kill an enemy with your Pyraxic Blade, Impact Core applies Weaken, and defeating the enemy will give invisibility thanks to Stylish Executioner. For Overshield, either stay invisible for a few seconds or take out an enemy while at full health to start getting your Overshield back. Or you can take out a Void debuffed enemy with our Repulsor Brace destabilized weapon. Overshield will give us a damage boost thanks to our Fortune's Favor. For solo players, this build definitely has survivability thanks to Devour. It definitely has the damage output, as you can see on the boss and Unstoppable Champions, thanks to our Surges and Exotic. And this mission took me 20 minutes, maybe closer to 15 after I saw the raw footage, but that was also after my controller died mid-battle. For this build, I don't see many areas where I would apply improvements, as this is the improved version of the Black Talon build I ran myself. So comment down below on what you would do differently or what build you would like to see next. Now, before I fully sign off, I do want to take time and take a look at our verse of the day. Our verse of the day can be found in 2 Corinthians, which states, "Therefore we do not lose heart, though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed by day." What this means is that our inner man, our spirit, is being renewed every time we connect with the Lord. So don't forget to spend some time with him today and thank him for what he's done in your life. With that said, that's going to be all for today's video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This is SGD signing off, and remember, it's fun to play games, but it's more fun to be with your family. Thanks for watching.